Explosions derail trains and collapse bridges in western Russia, killing 7. An unfolding tragedy underscores rising tensions and highlights infrastructure vulnerabilities. In a devastating turn of events, a series of powerful explosions rocked western Russia earlier this week, resulting in train derailments, collapsed bridges, and the loss of at least 7 lives. The incidents, which occurred in the Bryansk and Kursk regions, have not only claimed lives but also exposed critical weaknesses in the region's infrastructure and reignited concerns over sabotage, security, and regional instability. Russian officials are investigating the possibility of coordinated attacks, as the sequence and proximity of the events point toward more than just mechanical failures. As communities mourn and emergency responders scramble to restore order, the international community watches closely, aware that such acts may reflect deeper unrest. The chain of explosions. The initial explosion occurred in the early hours of Monday morning near a freight railway line in the Bryansk region. Witnesses reported hearing a loud boom followed by a cloud of thick black smoke. A freight train carrying flammable materials derailed shortly after the explosion, causing several wagons to catch fire. Only a few hours later, a second explosion rocked a nearby railway bridge, causing it to collapse just as a service train was passing over it. Several railcars plunged into a ravine, compounding the tragedy and significantly hampering rescue efforts. A third incident, reported later the same day in the neighboring Kursk region, involved an explosion on another stretch of track that also led to a train derailment. This time, casualties were reported among railway workers and engineers who had rushed to inspect the previous damage. In total, 7 people were confirmed dead, with at least a dozen more seriously injured. Rescue efforts and chaos on the ground. Emergency crews responded swiftly to the scenes, but efforts were hampered by fires, debris, and the dangerous conditions created by the structural collapse. Helicopters were deployed to airlift the severely injured to regional hospitals, while ground crews worked tirelessly to contain the flames and remove debris. One rescue worker described the scene as hellish, with twisted metal, burning fuel, and scattered cargo littering the tracks. Several of the derailed cars were carrying industrial chemicals, raising concerns about toxic exposure to both responders and residents. By Tuesday, firefighters managed to extinguish the fires and begin recovery operations. Engineers and military personnel were called in to assess the damage to the bridges and tracks. Transportation in the region remains heavily disrupted, with rail services halted and detours put in place for road traffic. Official response and investigations. Russian authorities quickly launched a criminal investigation, citing terrorism and sabotage as possible causes. The Investigative Committee of Russia released preliminary findings suggesting that the explosions were likely caused by improvised explosive devices, IEDs, strategically planted near key infrastructure points. In a televised address, Governor Alexander Bogomaz of Bryansk condemned the attacks and promised a full investigation. "These are acts of pure violence aimed at destabilizing our region and taking innocent lives. We will not allow such cowardly actions to go unpunished," he stated. Russia's Federal Security Service, FSB, has also joined the probe, with unconfirmed reports indicating that suspects with ties to extremist groups have already been detained. Surveillance footage and eyewitness testimonies are being scrutinized for further leads. Possible motives and broader implications. Although no group has officially claimed responsibility, analysts suggest that these attacks could be politically motivated. Some speculate that the ongoing conflict in Ukraine may be linked, as acts of sabotage targeting Russian transportation and military logistics have occurred before, especially in border regions. Others believe the incidents may have been carried out by domestic actors seeking to protest against regional policies or federal governance. Russia has faced an increase in anti-government sentiment in various pockets of society, particularly in rural and economically strained areas. Whatever the motive, the implications are alarming. Russia's railway network is a vital part of the country's transportation and logistics system. Damaging this infrastructure not only causes human casualties but also disrupts the flow of goods, fuels economic instability, and fosters fear among the population. Infrastructure vulnerabilities and security failures. The tragedies have raised significant questions about the state of infrastructure and transportation security in Western Russia. Several experts have pointed out that the aging railway system is particularly vulnerable to both natural degradation and intentional attacks. Security measures along Russia's vast railway network are notoriously thin, especially in remote areas. While urban centers may be equipped with surveillance and patrol units, smaller regions often rely on minimal protection, leaving them exposed. Bridge and tunnel infrastructure in the region also suffers from poor maintenance and underfunding. Critics argue that had the structures been more robust or equipped with monitoring systems, the extent of the damage could have been mitigated. In response, the Russian Ministry of Transport has pledged to bolster railway security, especially in regions bordering Ukraine and Belarus. Measures include increased patrols, installation of surveillance systems, and a review of emergency response protocols. Impact on the local population. Beyond the physical destruction, the psychological toll on residents in Bryansk and Kursk is immense. Many families lost loved ones in the explosions, and hundreds more are dealing with the loss of their homes and jobs due to the rail disruptions. One resident, Irina Petrovna, shared her experience. The ground shook, windows shattered, and then the sirens started. My children were screaming. We thought it was an airstrike. Her story echoes the trauma that now grips much of the region. Schools and public facilities near the explosion sites were temporarily closed, and authorities have urged residents to stay alert for suspicious activity. Relief operations are underway, with regional governments offering financial aid, shelter, and psychological support to those affected. International reaction. International leaders have expressed condolences to the victims' families while urging caution and restraint as Russia investigates the causes. NATO and European Union officials have emphasized the need for transparency, especially if the attacks are linked to broader geopolitical tensions. Human rights groups have called for the protection of civilian populations and emphasized the importance of accurate information in avoiding scapegoating or wrongful accusations. Thanks for watching. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss our updates on global events. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What do you think caused these explosions, and how should Russia respond? Stay safe, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next video.